Hey guys, this is my first test and recording for um, instruction on the calculator and using my iPad. So I want to focus on um, the actual touch RPN, which is also the Hewlett-Packard 12C configuration and the form of a app that you can use. I'm going to walk us through some things with that today so that you can sort of refresh yourself on how to use the calculator. I'm going to move fairly quickly, so just to get some things in and so that the file is not so large. But I did want to start you off with some basics, and then we'll get more complicated. Um, Also, we'll be going to a PowerPoint session for you as well here. And for all intents and purposes, we're just going to label this as bonds. Um, and if I can figure this out correctly, we're just going to be looking at bonds and bond uh, valuation. Okay, so I think that Um, you can follow along, and hopefully, if you have questions, you can email me back later. Okay, but we're going to be moving back and forth between the PowerPoint and the calculator, and just so that you understand exactly how things work together. So, some basics on the calculator. Obviously, the on button is in the lower left-hand corner. And I feel like that most of you know and can find that. I did want to bring your attention to the F and the ClearX and the F and GX buttons. We've mentioned those before, how crucial it is for you to make sure that your memories are clear, and those two functions will clear all of the blue memory functions and all of the orange blue memory functions. So we'll be using some of both as we work through some of these problems, but I think as an overview for Chapter 7, I think it's crucial for you to see how these actual um, function keys will relate to your actual problem. So we'll be flipping back and forth, but if you have any questions, just let me know how that works for you. Okay, so um, I'm happy to help you. More basics about the calculator. If you wanted to change the number of decimals, again, F and then 4 will change the screen to just 4 decimal places. Again, F and 2 decimal places, F3 and so forth, F9, F8, and so forth. So remember that the calculator remembers everything past the visible units, and so you do not need to get into the habit of writing things down. You can use the store function. So if I just to, for instance, if I had the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I wanted to store that, I could use the store function here, and then move on to say 4, enter, recall 1, which was our number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and times that to give us this number. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you that you can use the store and the recall functions, and to help you remember things without having to write stuff down. So you have 9 store functions, so you can store this in every location if you wanted to, or a different number. But if you needed to, recall it, you can recall it in every location. It's every place that you put it. Okay, so again, gclearx, G4X will clear all of your memory, including what's in your store and your functions. So just real quickly, I wanted to get through those with you. Okay, simply, if we're going to add something, if you remember the large enter button here, okay, is if you can imagine things just being stacked on top of one another, and it's the bottom position that you're always going to be applying to. So if we wanted to add 1, we would put it into the stack column, 1 is now in that stack column, and it's ready to be used to apply some sort of math function to. So if we wanted to add 3 to 1, we at this point, since 1 is showing in your screen, you could just say 3 plus, if we wanted to add 3 to that, okay? If we wanted to add 4 to 4, we would just simply add 4 and the plus sign, okay? If we wanted to then multiply 8 times 5, 8 is showing, 8 is ready to be used. We could just put enter 5 and then times to get 40. Okay. Likewise, if we now wanted to divide 40 by 10, you can just press 10 and then divide it by. Okay. So those are typically how the basic functions are going to work. If now you wanted to subtract 3 from 4, you would write 3 minus and you'd wind up with 1. Okay, so just real quickly, those are the functions as to how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, and we'll walk through some things that may help you as well in that regard as far as actual problems are concerned. Again, F clear X, G clear X, we have everything cleared out. Some additional things that you might want to know about the calculator. If we were going to square a number, okay, if we wanted to square 3, then obviously you can do 3 times in this case, or you could press 3 and then the y to the x, and I'm sorry, 3, that's 3 cubed. So 3 cubed would be 27. 3 squared would just be 3 times 3, which is 9. So 3, enter, and we wanted to square it, we would get 9. If you wanted to do a square root of 3, enter, and then to the 0.5 power would give you the square root of 3, 1.732, okay? So those are some things that you need to remember how to use. So the y to the x column is also the square root as well if you use a fractional or cube root function. You can also use the blue G and the square root function as well. So you could do that as well. 3, enter, G square root, okay, would give you the same thing, okay? So 5, enter, G square root would give you the square root of 5, and likewise. So um, obviously, those are some things that you need to be aware of. So I did want to go through sort of some problems with sequencing so that you can understand how to actually go through that process, and it may help you if you see it actually done. So I'm going to go over to the PowerPoint and let you see actually how that's done. If we load the PowerPoint again, and we are still looking at bonds, but this will be a sort of a simple sequence so you can see actually how to calculate this. So let's just say that we wanted to multiply or perform this function. So 5 plus 3, okay, times 4, okay. Obviously, that's 8 times 4 is 32, but to use that in the calculator mode, okay, we would actually typically go 5 and then the enter button, okay, 3, enter, okay, and then plus, because we wanted to add 5 plus 3, so 3 enter plus, and then we want to multiply 4 times, so it would just be 4x, okay? And so when we go back, 5 enter, 3 enter, plus 4 times, okay, should give us that same function. So let's clear x, f x, so 5 enter, 3 plus, okay, is 8, and then 4 times is 32. Okay, so I wanted to walk through that with you. If you have decimals, as well, then you can go through and perform a decimal function. If we wanted to move to a new screen and then not do decimals but fractions, we had some sort of function in that same regard. Let's do 5 plus 4, okay, as a numerator, and let's do 6 minus 2, okay, is equal to what? Okay, I would enter this as 5 ENT, um, and then I would do 5 enter, let's say 4 plus, okay, and then I need to have that in my numerator, and so I would just press the enter button to put it in my carriage, and then I would enter 6, enter 2 minus, and then divided by, okay? Um, and that should give us be 5, enter, be 9, entered, and then 4 divided by. So let's work that problem. So 5 plus 4, 6 minus 2 with the calculator. Okay, so again, so 5, enter, 4, what was the problem? 5 plus 4, okay, 5 plus 4, okay, is 9, okay, and then enter, and then 6, enter, 2 minus divided by is 2 and 2/4, 2 and a quarter, okay, and when we go back to the calculator, we have this is actually going to equal 9 divided by 4, okay, and we know that that is equal to 2 and 1/4, okay, or 2.25, which is the answer, okay. You see how that's done? So we'll continue on going through some problems now. We'll start looking at some actual bonds and some bond prices. And let's just assume that we have, if you remember, a bond with um, face value of 1,000. Okay, its current price or present value is equal to 9.26. The coupon rate on that bond, okay, is equal to, let's just say 5.25%, okay, with the um, yield to maturity um, of, um, let's just say that's what we're solving for, okay, and we're going to have this bond for 10 years, okay. So in this case, I've given you the variables. We just simply need to plug those in for future value, okay, present value, the coupon rate, and yield to maturity is what we're solving for, okay. So a couple of things you need to remember about bonds, and that is that there's two things here that we need to remember, and that is if this is, I'm going to erase this, but I will also um, put this back to n is equal to 10 years, okay? And this was going to be semi-annual, okay, payments, okay? So if it's semi, then we know that there's